So, most coaches and consultants have a really hard time starting their business and starting to get clients, or they have a really hard time scaling their business further to the next level and getting even more clients because they're focusing on the wrong thing. So they spend their time focusing on the completely wrong things, and sometimes they can be spending months and months and years without making any significant progress. They're still kind of stuck in the same place and they have no idea why. So in this video, I'm going to explain the one thing that I have learned by working with hundreds of different coaches and consultants. And this is the one thing that is the most important that's going to have the highest impact in your coaching business. So if you want to start or even scale your coaching business in the next 60 days, stick until the end of the video and you're really going to like it. So let's get into it, right? What is that one thing that you really need to focus on, especially as a new coach, right? Let's like if you're not established business owner, this is what you need to figure out. This is what you need to focus on as a new coach. So you need to pick the right market, right? Like you don't need to like have a fancy website. You don't need to focus on building a big brand. You don't need to focus on like anything else besides just picking the right market, because every single decision that you're going to be making in your business is going to come from this one right here, right? Like you can just you cannot spend like whatever it is, 1 month, 6 months, or 1 year, or even more trying to build a program, for example, for real estate agents, when you figure out that your actual market, the one that you need to go through, is maybe financial advisors, right? Two completely different markets. And I hope you can see how you can lose a lot of time if you pick the wrong market. So I'm going to show you how to actually pick the right market, and I'm going to explain why is it so important. So picking the right market is one of the most important decisions that you're going to make in your business. And I'm going to give an analogy so you understand why. Because picking your market is kind of like marrying, right? Because if you marry the wrong person, you're not going to be in a good position no matter how hard you try to make it right. It's just going to be a mess. It's just going to be chaos, right? It's going to be like an uphill battle. But if you marry the right person, right, it's going to be easy. It's going to be effortless. You're not going to have any issues. So this is an analogy that fits in perfectly with picking the right market for your coaching business, right? Now, another thing that's really important that you have to keep in mind, just like marrying someone, every single market has flaws. There's no such thing as a perfect market. Every single market has pros, has cons. So the real question is not, is this the perfect market? The real question is, am I willing to put up with these flaws? Am I willing to leave with these flaws? Or are these ones deal breaker for me specifically? And obviously this refers to you. So as you can see, picking the right market, it's same like marrying the right person. So I'm going to explain why a lot of coaches fail to pick the right market, and you will see how important it is, and you will see how this can completely change your business, and this can completely change the results that you're getting in your business in a good way or in a bad way if you make the wrong choice. So this is the golden rule. And again, this is no theory, this is real life, just what I've realized by working with like hundreds and hundreds of coaches, right? So the biggest problem is that a lot of coaches try to create desire in a market instead of channeling already existing desire. So this is like a direct response marketing golden rule. If you have studied direct response marketing, you already know about this rule, but you cannot create desire. You can only channel already existing desire. So let me give you a practical example so you understand what I'm talking about. Let's say that you have a friend and your friend really loves steak, loves burgers, and just really hates salad, right? So if you have a salad business and you try to convince your friend who really hates salads, if you really try to convince him and educate him, hey, this is why salad is good for you. This is why you should buy salad. I hate to break it to you, but you're going to have a really hard time selling. You're probably not going to sell anything, right? Or maybe you are going to sell it once, but you're definitely not going to sell it multiple times. So this is an example of trying to create desire that is not there. It is extremely difficult, extremely painful, and extremely unprofitable when you try to, convince your friend who absolutely hates salad, when you try to convince him to buy salad from you. So this is an example of trying to create desire. Now, which is bad. Now, let me give an example of trying to of channeling pre-existing desire. So let's say that my friend really loves steak. He's a really huge steak fan, whatever. He knows all the types of different steaks. he's a steak connoisseur or whatever. Well, in that case, if you have a business and you're selling steaks, you're going to have a really easy it's going to be really easy for you to sell steaks to your friend who already loves steaks, because your friend is already looking for steaks. He already loves steaks. He already eats steak probably every single day. He's already looking to buy more steak. So you can see it's going to be very easy for you to sell steak to your friend, because you are channeling already existing desire. Your friend already has the desire to buy steak. So you're not going to have a hard time doing it. And so where most coaches go wrong is, they're trying to go after a market that just simply doesn't have enough desire to buy their offer, right? So I'm going to give you two real life examples, because I see this like problem over and over again, and hopefully it's gonna help you. So this is a real life case. This is not something that I've invented, right? So I had a client who was a wellness and health coach, right? And he essentially pivoted. He wanted to target professionals, and he wanted specifically to target tech sales professionals, right? Or sales professionals in tech, right? So he was, again, remember, a wellness health coach. He wanted to help them find direction, get more satisfaction from their job, and deal with the part of the job that he didn't really like. So at hindsight, it looks, well, okay, it looks like a pretty useful offer, but the offer completely bombed. Right now, the reason why it bombed is because, not because of lack of specificity, right? The market was quite specific. He was going after a, quite specific good market. They had like good financial resources and all that kind of stuff. But the problem is really the pain of what he was trying to solve for this market just wasn't big enough for people in this market. Like they just didn't care enough about the problem that he was trying to solve. And so the desire for an offer like his just wasn't there. Right? The desire just wasn't there. So he was a good coach, he had really good expertise, and he could have changed these people's lives. Absolutely. He could have helped them improve. Oh, absolutely. But if those people aren't already actively looking for wellness and health coaching specifically for the problems that he was solving, then again, it's going to bump. So this is a real life example. It doesn't matter how good of a coach you are, how good of a marketer you are, how good your skills are. If you're just pairing your skills with the wrong market where they aren't really running towards like buying, wanting to buy your offer, then you're just going to have a really hard time. So it's not a matter of are your skills in your offer, is your offer going to be useful to them? It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of, would they be willing to run through glass bare feet to get your thing to buy your offer? If the answer is no, then you're just not selling to the right market. Let me give you another example, right? Another example of picking the right market, not necessarily because they don't have the desire, but because the nature of this market, like they just weren't wired for buying this type of offer. So, I had a coach, right, another client, and she wanted essentially to help women recovering from narcissistic abuse, right? Most of them were single mothers, right? So they went through divorce. And this market is specific, right? And you can definitely argue, hey, they had a really big pain point. They really needed coaching with this. Absolutely, that's right. However, two things that worked against this coach was, first of all, financial situation was usually tight, because again, typically these were single moms. They went through divorce. They were kind of living paycheck to paycheck while raising their kids alone. So they weren't in a good financial position to invest in coaching. So this is one of the problems that she was facing. The second problem is, and this is very interesting, it goes down to human psychology, but women, these women specifically, were really wired to put everyone else's needs before their own, which made it psychologically hard for them to prioritize investing in themselves over everyone else, even when they knew that they had a problem and even when they wanted to change, right? So again, this is really nuanced, but they weren't putting themselves first. So because of this, they knew that they needed help, they wanted to change, but they just didn't take the action of actually investing because of how their psychology was. So this is something else to keep in mind. And this is really another example. Like they did kind of have the desire, but they weren't psychologically wired to buy a coaching offer specifically for this, just because of their psychology. So this goes to show you that it really doesn't matter how good of a marketer you are sometimes, and it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are sometimes. If you're just trying to sell to the wrong market, is just going to be like an uphill battle. Like you're going to have to put in a lot of effort to get very very little output. You're going to have a lot of input for a little output. That is not a really good business, right? So these are two of the examples, just so you understand some of the most common mistakes. And I hope that you can, take these examples and look at your business and see if you're making the right choice or not. Now, let me give you a practical exercise to help you pick the right market. So, it is a very simple exercise. You can create a spreadsheet, right? Or like a table, Excel table, or whatever, where you're going to have four columns. You're going to have the market name, pros, cons, and verdict. And here's what you're going to do with this. So, you're going to list out every single market that you are seriously considering targeting. And for every single market you're going to put in this table, you're going to write out pros and cons objectively and honestly, right? You might prefer a market, but you do need to, be objective as much as possible here and do not skip the cons. And you're really going to score every single market objectively. It's a very simple scoring system against the three questions below. So, number one, desire. Do they already want this outcome and are they willing to pay for it and are they going to take action? And I'm going to give you another pro tip a little bit later in the video. So this is the first one. Do they already have a really strong desire to buy your product? Right? The product that you want to sell to them. Capacity. Do they actually have the capacity to afford your solution, especially if you're selling high ticket? And the third thing is, do they have the willingness to act? Like, are they going to prioritize themselves enough to actually invest and take action, which kind of ties into the first one? Do they have the desire? So I challenge you to do this, like list out every single market you're considering going after, score them objectively, and pick the right market. And don't worry, I'm also going to give you like a checklist, super detailed checklist to actually help you make this decision. So it's not just based like on a simple scoring system. So this right here is the ultimate checklist that I use with my internal clients to decide if this is a good market to go with not or not. So let's say that you listed out all the potential options that you have using a table like this. And let's say that you have like your best pick, right? You're saying, okay, cool. I've taken a look at this spreadsheet. I thought about it and I want to go with this one market. Okay, great. After you've picked the market, you need to take a look at all of these boxes right here. So number one, has this been proven before? Are there signs of life? So what this really means is, do you have competitor in the market? Like, let's say that you want to advertise like how to get more leads for real estate agents, which, right, obviously is a huge industry, but you got to look inside the industry and you got to, just objectively look like, are there other people trying to advertise to this market? And are there any other successful competitors? If you have successful competitors in the market that you want to get into, that is a great sign because that means that people in that market are looking to buy and have desire for the product that you're trying to sell. So a lot of people are going to think like, oh my gosh, if there's competition, I don't have any chance. I shouldn't pick this market. I should just pick a market with like no competition. Wrong. You want to look for signs of life in a market. Same with the Dead Sea. If you're a fish and if you want to live in the Dead Sea, you're going to be dead because there's no life in the Dead Sea. Why is there no life in the Dead Sea? Because the conditions of the water are not conducive to life. So, right, you can see how in nature, if you're going to have this pattern of thinking like, oh, I need to create my own market, oh, I need to go in a market where nobody else is, you're going to be screwed. You're basically going to die, right? So another very important thing is this a growing or a neutral market, right? So I'm going to give you an example. Very few like markets that are actually going down, but for example, like newspaper, right? Like fewer people are actually reading newspapers. So this is an industry that's actively going down at the moment. So it will be not the best idea to actually get into the newspaper industry if you want to pick newspaper as an industry, right? So the question is the market that you want to pick a growing or a neutral market? Are you passionate about this industry? Do you have an interest in solving the problem that they have, right? Which is an obvious one. Based on your skills, where can you provide the most value? So obviously this is going to apply when you're going to list out all the markets and you're going to look at which one is going to be the best market for you, right? And we also have some other things. I'm not going to read all of them in this video, but another really important one is your total addressable market reasonable? Now, total addressable market means literally how many potential clients do you have in this whole market. And just so you know, like a good benchmark is 30,000 people in the US. So you want to have 30,000 or more. If you really have less than 30,000 potential clients in the US, then your market is too small. You need to go one level up. So you need to pick a bigger market essentially, right? Do you have a clear advantage in this market? If you have been a lawyer for 20 years, then a pretty good market for you is going to be lawyers, right? To help with lawyers, right? Now you can get even more specific, but this is what an advantage means, right? Again, the desire. Are you channeling pre-existing market desire, or are you trying to manufacture desire from scratch? That's not going to work, right? And does this market absolutely need your help? Do they have a neck bleeding problem, and are they willing to basically, run through shattered glass just to buy your thing, right? Because if they do, they're willing to do that. I'm just telling you, you're going to make sales left and right. Okay. Now, the last thing, this is an extra step, right? Let's say that at this point you pick the right market. You're like, okay, this is amazing. Like, I've ticked all the boxes right here. I've checked all the boxes. This is an amazing market. This is the perfect fit for me. Great. What do you do now, right? So you can start getting clients. Well, any piece of advertising and marketing and the offer that you're going to create for this market, because these are really going to be your next steps. You're going to have to create an offer for this market. You're going to have to create advertising so that you can start booking calls, you can start getting clients. Everything that I just listed earlier, the offer, the advertising, and all those things are going to come from proper research. So research basically comes, well, it's pretty obvious, but it comes in two forms. Number one, live customer interviews. So this is where you just talk to potential clients. You just talk to people in the market just to do research, and you just have to be transparent. Just reach out to people in your market, be transparent, tell them that, hey, I'm doing research because I'm trying to build an offer in this space. I would really help. Your advice would really be helpful, and your insight. I want to, when I'm building my product, I want to make sure that it's something that actually people are going to buy and are going to need. So you can use this angle, reach out to people, have 10 to 20 interviews, and record all of those interviews with Fathom or like a recorder, so you can have the transcripts and you can capture your prospects language, the words that they're using. How are they describing their problems? How are they describing their goals? What do they really want? What do they say they want? What do they actually need? So you need to understand all of those things, and once you understood those things, you're going to be able to create some very effective marketing campaigns and offers, right? And then the second thing, which is really a little bit of a hack, is you can literally use Claude to do research, and you can use Claude to create what I like to call a copy bank document, which is a huge document. Like, usually it's going to create for like a 20, 23, 45 page document with customer language that Claude is going to pull from, forums, reviews, groups, right? All sorts of things like Reddit, Quora, and all sorts of things, which is going to include customer language, which again, every single piece of copy, like really good copy, really good marketing, every single word is intentional and every single word is based on real life research. So I really urge you, use this resource, do research with Claude, use Claude to basically build like a copy bank document, a huge document with 20 pages with a lot of customer language. And you're going to see that it's going to be really easy. You're going to see the patterns. You're going to be able to create some really successful offers, some really efficient marketing campaigns, right? So that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you found it useful. But I'm telling you, again, going back to the initial analogy that I used, picking the right market for your business is like marrying someone. If you make the wrong decision, you are screwed no matter how hard you try to make it right. But if you marry the right person, and you pick the right market for your business, you're not going to have a hard time advertising. You're going to be successful, happy, and yeah, your life is going to be easy. This is why this is so important. And I see even coaches who have like 2 years, 3 years, even 5 years of experience. They don't really know what their market is, and they're still struggling with this, and they still need help, and they still need to go through the exercises that I talked about in this video. So that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed it, smash the like button, right? So just smash the like button right now. Subscribe to this channel. I'm going to post more videos like this one, and I'll just see you in the next video.